welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your host, Buddy Sotelo Esquire, and wrestling's premier photographer, Dr. Mike Lano. And this time I will introduce our guest, even though I know that you have his resume memorized. I would just say this about Sheldon Goldberg, and that is, I consider myself like in the top 25% of wrestling knowledge out there. But if I had to say someone's in that top 5% of wrestling knowledge that we've had on the show, it's Sheldon Goldberg. This man has done more in wrestling than most. You've probably done more in a tenth of your lifetime than most other wrestling folks will ever have done in their entire lifetime times 4. You've given so much to the business, and you know so much about wrestling.
Thank you.
It's true. You're one person that I just am in complete, awe of as far as your wrestling resume goes. But just remind the fans a little bit of everything that you bring to the table.
And not just wrestling, and so much more before and during to the world of entertainment and sports.
Right. I founded and owned New England Championship Wrestling that ran for over 20 years. I've been a promoter. I've produced television. Now I write books. And I did 3 years. I did a nationally syndicated radio show on wrestling, and I've just been very fortunate to have had all the experiences that I've had, and I give thanks all the time for it.
Sheldon, it looks like your screen is frozen. If you want to maybe jiggle your camera off and on again for a second, and hopefully that.
Well, it's built into the laptop, so.
All right. Well,
that's okay. Right. That's okay. I want to hone in on the radio show for a second, but we're here because besides all the other incredible stuff, and I've known Sheldon, it was a little bit after Matt Marketplace we'll get into, but he has a 5-book series he did while recuperating from stuff, life's health issues and stuff we're all kind of faced, but he had more on his plate than anybody I know. But 5 books that it's an incredible effort, and they lead into, it's a continuation. Nobody in wrestling or even sports that I'm aware of has done anything like this. His new one is coming out. We'll let him talk about that. Well,
it's out,
right at the top. Tell everybody the name of it and where you want them to go to get it. Because it is.
I'm holding it up, although I see my camera's frozen, but I am holding it up. It's called The Warmth of the Sun, S-O-N. It's the final volume in the 5-book series of wrestling novels following the life and times of fictional character Rick Pacheco, who stumbles into pro wrestling at the age of 11, and it follows his life and times and career and ups and downs and ins and outs and so forth, and it's kind of it's an inside look at the business, but it's also it's also just to look at the whole world of pro wrestling. The books take you into different corners of the business, like Japan and amateur wrestling, Olympics wrestling, the territory era, the corporatization of pro wrestling. And, I felt that I could say more about pro wrestling in the context of these books than I could if I were writing a shoot history. And I thought it would be much more fun and interesting to have engaging characters to follow. And it's partly called the Mouthpiece Wrestling Show. It was on here in Boston for 3 years, and part of that time it was nationally syndicated. It was me and Mike Johnson, and a fellow by the name of Joe Matarazzo. And let me hold this up. I was remiss in not holding up The Warmth of the Sun. I don't know if you can see it. There we go.
Which kind of takes its name. We emailed back and forth from what I regard as one of the greatest songs ever, Warmth of the Sun by the Beach Boys, with the greatest harmony. And people have to see what harmony plays in your book, Warmth of the Sun, S-O-N.
Yeah.
And where can people get it? Where do we send people? And we got video from you too, which is awesome.
Yeah, they can get it on Amazon, and they can also get it on my website. It's necw.tv/shop. If you'd like an autographed copy, if you buy an autographed copy, I have some extra little things that you can get. You can get your choice of a free gift. You can either get yourself an official, let's see here, Great Western Wrestling meshback baseball cap, or if you're more of an 80s fan, it's a Great Western Wrestling fanny pack right there.
The boys still use them. There's many of the wrestlers that still use those. So you want probably
Zubaz camps are not included, unfortunately. But anyway, yeah, I for each book I've done a little gift when I go and do a live signing. And if you buy an autographed book, I give you a little gift. I've had a coffee mug, key rings, stickers, buttons. I had a sports bag that went very quickly. And yeah, this one, it's either a ball cap or a fanny pack. I've got more items coming, actually, to wrap up the series. So I wanted to, have these things when I do live signings.
That's added value. Not only the book's outstanding, 10 out of 5 Meltzer stars, but added value. Sheldon always does unique things. And he always has, dating back to Matt Marketplace, which was the Bible for collectors. I wanted to ask, and then, Russ can chime in. Normally Russ would actually ask these questions. When we met, I forget how many issues you were already into Matt Marketplace, but tell us your origin story in wrestling. How did you get turned on to it? Did you discover it by family member, by accident? And then your progress to Matt Marketplace, the Bible for people that collected.
Well, let's see. I got into wrestling. I have an aunt who's no longer with us, but anyway, she lived in a town called Chelsea, which is just north of Boston. And because it's north of Boston, she was able to get on her TV some of the New Hampshire television stations. And one of the stations was Channel 9 in Manchester. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Channel 9 in New Hampshire, in Manchester. And that station on Sundays, we'd go over to visit her, and I'd be sitting there watching TV, and I stumbled onto wrestling. And I was a comic book guy before that, and I just saw this, from the dark arena with one light over the ring and the Philadelphia arena, and I just got intrigued by it right away.
Now, important question I got to interrupt with.
Let's ask you what year, Sheldon, remember what year that was?
Oh, gosh, it had to be maybe 68, 69.
And very important question, Sheldon. Marvel or DC or both?
Both.
Both.
Good.
See, I'm a Marvel guy.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
you can love them both. You can love them both. I mean, I favor DC, but there's so much unique stuff about Marvel.
I guess you can like both. It's theoretically possible, but I'm a Marvel guy. All right, so let's just make that very clear.
Much respect.
Make that very clear. Let's put that out there that I'm a Marvel.
That's very cool. It's funny. I was in a store that sold like used comic books, amongst other things. There's like a 5 and 10 cent store that sold a bunch of them. One of the things, they had a section of used comic books, and I saw a bunch of old used Marvel issues, and that really got me hooked on Marvel because I just thought that it was great stuff. I really enjoyed like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Hulk, stuff like that. It was just awesome. I thought it was more interesting than the DC stuff.
It was grittier. Stan Lee, I think everybody loves beloved Stan Lee. They were grittier and they were a little more relatable. DC was super duper fantasy, but some of the Marvel guys, the protagonists rather, you could really relate to them a little bit more. You know, I loved elements of both, and you know, now Marvel is really kicking his butt in the movie end of things. The Marvel Universe, or what do they call it, you guys? Isn't
the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
MCU.
Now you know where WWE stole it from.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, I've always thought it was kind of funny that, like, you know, wrestling fans say that, you know, oh, well, the death of kayfabe, that you can't have heroes and villains, and you can't have the over the top characters and all that stuff because that won't sell. But then again, you look at the movies, and what are the biggest movies right now? Superhero movies that
Absolutely.
have. Yeah, that are as
Wait, what happened with the Supergirl movie? I read stuff and it's irritating to me that have we not grown as a civilization? I guess not on many levels, but that we can accept a female protagonist, a female heroine. I love the movie.
Why not?
Went and saw it.
I guess it's out, or it's about to come out.
Yeah, but it did the shits. It didn't do really the business expected. It didn't recoup its costs, and sort of almost like the Moana live action, which I also enjoyed.
Female superhero movies haven't done very well overall.
Well, Wonder Woman did, but I don't know. It did decently, certainly, but you know, it's like critics shit all over stuff, and it's kind of like the critics in wrestling. They drive me nuts, the tribalism and all that stuff. You can love WWE and you can love AEW. You know, and being a dog person, I had to go see Crypto, you know, in yet another movie.
Yeah, but it seems interesting that people are saying that wrestling has lost kayfabe and that you can't go back to, you know, having good versus evil and those kind of, like, you know, over the top characters, when all they do movie wise is go see over the top characters and good and evil villains in movies, but they can't somehow see that in wrestling any longer. Sheldon,
I want to get back to Shel. What were some of the matches and the wrestlers you first saw? I want to get back to that when you first started watching.
The wrestlers I've heard from as far as the book.
No. When you started watching in like '68, was it Bruno and Drew Tanaka, Victor Rivera?
Bruno was the man. Yeah, I was into Carl Gotch and Rene Goulet. It's a tag team.
Yeah.
I was a big Carl Gotch guy. I thought Carl Gotch was like poetry in motion. Tony
Did you have any idea he was a hooker shooter, a Fez type then as a kid?
No, he was just they gave him the man of 1,000 holds gimmick.
Yeah.
That was his gimmick in WWF. Yeah.
Didn't they drop the straps? King Curtis IAK and Baron Mikelski Kaluna, they dropped the Tri-WF tag straps to them? Or was it Tarzan Tyler? No, it was Tarzan Tyler and who was his partner?
Lou Graham.
Yeah, Crazy Lou Graham.
Yep.
Those were good.
I saw those two teams in the Boston Garden, and I was sitting here with my dad, and Carl Gotch waved to me. I don't know if he thought I looked like somebody you knew or whatever, but anyway.
You're one of the few who got to see Carl Gotch. I didn't even get to see him wrestle, and huge mark. Got to meet him, you know, much later and stuff after his wife passed. Wonderful person and very ethical, you know, in a business that wasn't quite that way. And we don't have those guys anymore. The Carl Gotches, the Thez, the Stu Harts, the Larry Simon Malenko, Bill Miller, Bert Esseriti. We don't have those guys anymore. Gagne, Billy Robinson, obviously.
Kurt Angle's probably as close as we got, maybe.
We're poorer for that.
Yeah, no, that's true. But Sheldon, go back to the question I had brought up, which is that people say that, you know, kayfabe is dead in wrestling. You can't bring it back. But yet, when they watch TV and when they watch movies, all they watch are good and evil and over-the-top characters.
Well, no, wait. What we're into now is, unfortunately, the Netflix Unreal show, which completely, Triple H, they're into season, I guess it's season 2 or 3, completely exposes the business. So the genie's out of the bottle, Russ.
way out of
There's
the
a
bottle.
company that's the biggest on the planet, and now is taken over, busted open
They
radio.
broke the bottle. The genie's not only out of it, they broke the bottle.
Exactly.
It's funny, I posted about this on my Facebook page yesterday, and I asked people what they thought about it. I mean, what they thought about this total, let's tear the curtain down and take it out and burn
How
it.
the sausage is made.
Yeah,
but
right.
let me bring up the point that you all have gone to Universal Studios, or I know I have, and you probably have at some point in time. They show all the movie magic, and that's been busted over. You get a DVD and they show you the making of.
But you don't believe, when you go to a movie, you don't believe that's real. You don't believe the Harry Potter or any of that stuff is real. Wrestling, for decades, particularly in the territory.
Why do you have to believe it's real? That's my question.
Well, people did, and they maintained kayfabe in real life. Why does it have to be going around like Andy Kaufman and pretending he was the character in real life on the street away from the movie?
What we had in the territory days was suspension of disbelief. Whether you thought it was real or not, you sat there suspending your disbelief because the people involved were acting like it was real. It's like a good movie. Christopher Reeve isn't going to stop in midair as Superman and wave to you and say, "Hey, I'm not really flying. This is all bullshit." No,
and there's an audience presence, so it's a theatrical. The audience is reacting. Blackjack Mullen got stabbed in the leg, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
I was there. Everybody thought that was. Who would have thought it was fake then? I mean,
was it a male or female? It wasn't Hampton Berry, but did the person get caught and stuff and prosecuted?
No. He got out through the crowd and they never caught him.
So
they knew something was up.
Why is it so important for wrestling that people can't suspend their disbelief any longer?
It's just harder. They can, and they can enjoy it, but they know how the sausage is made, so that's always in the back of your mind. But they still enjoy it.
They've been cheated out of that experience.
Yeah.
Well, you can't just do this stuff winking your eye and making faces at the crowd. It's not. You've taken away that suspension of disbelief that tugs at your emotions. That's what's missing from wrestling.
Johnny Valentine's longtime
emotion from the crowd.
Listen, Johnny Valentine always said, "I can't make you believe in pro wrestling, but I can make you believe in me."
Yeah.
Great line.
Yeah, it is a great line, and it's so true. I feel sorry for people now in this era that don't remember the era of kayfabe, that don't remember the pre-84 the pre-84 era of pro wrestling when it was something very special. And I think it's sad. I think kids have been cheated. Really, The
other thing is the high spots. No one enjoy. I mean, I love Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, and the stuff they do is insane. But I can also appreciate, going back to Valentine, him putting the headlock and sitting there and riling up the crowd for like 15, 20 minutes on Jack Briscoe in 72, 73 Florida. Absolutely entertaining and not having to kill themselves and trash their bodies.
Yeah. Very
the whole concept of working a spot and working a move, and chaining moves together and having it have some sort of logical, you work an arm, you work an elbow, you work a wrist.
Ring psychology, which is really non-existent now to a great extent.
Right.
Look at like the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, how they always worked on the left arm. That was like their signature thing. They would do all these moves.
No, it made sense. You wear down the person, the body part. Yeah, it makes sense. And that's when pro wrestling's at its best. It has to be logical, make sense, and that's when people buy in.
And now, too, the concept of submission holds. Like when I was growing up, something like an abdominal stretch was the submission hold. Today, everybody
not transition moves. Those finishers and high spots, well, they weren't even really high spots. They were finishers, like a superplex from Super Destroyer in the Atlanta Georgia Championship was a finish. Harley Race's suplex in '73 when he won the title the first time, a finisher. And now they're just mere transitions. Nobody buys into them, which is sad.
It is sad. It takes tools away from the toolbox of a wrestler,
Yeah, you don't need a 450 splash where you risk breaking your neck.
But that all comes down to booking. It's not by accident. It's
something creative. The business has progressed. The hybridization stuff when Satoru Sayama went to the U.S. and Canada and Mexico and brought it back and was way ahead of the U.S. But that incredible style that we all marked out for, Dynamite Kid, Tiger Mask, Sayama, was also in some ways kind of the undoing of the magic. Or it took it into, you wouldn't be able to see Billy Robinson or Fred Blassie doing a 450 splash. It wouldn't have made, our high spots were Ray Stevens or John Tolis doing a knee drop. That was the flying that we saw until Moskers came to the U.S. in 1967.
Ray Stevens bombs away.
But let me give an example of the heart punch. Okay, heart punch is a silly move, but if a guy's willing to sell it seriously, it makes it look like something terrible has occurred. I mean, and it's but there's no honor offered in selling right now. That anyone that's in the business, they feel if they have to sell something that wasn't a huge move, that it's a shot at them.
That's the most important thing. Bully Ray, Bubba Ray Dudley continually says, he's on Busted Open, sell, 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 and when you're done selling, sell some more. It's the most important aspect in getting over both the heel and the face.
As a manager, that was my favorite part of the business, was selling. That was my favorite part of when I would be involved, is the overacting that you could throw in and the hamminess that you could throw in and overselling, especially as a manager when you got hit. Even the slightest hit, I could pretend like I got shot, by a friggin' howitzer, point blank. I could just, take a slap and make it seem like it is, broke every bone in my body. And I don't understand why guys don't want to sell.
Sheldon, how he addressed selling and ring psychology in his 5-book series that we're talking about and talking them up today.
Oh, yeah, it's addressed. Pretty much everything in wrestling's addressed. Even stuff like, how a guy in the 60s would have broken in. Japan. The fun part of this book, this series of books, was I was able to take you to a lot of places in wrestling that people don't normally go. The first book is called The Last Fall, and it takes place from 1971 to 1999.
Wow,
so it covers the territory era and the kayfabe era, and as it transitions into the corporatization of pro wrestling. And that was the fun part of the book for me, being able to take you to all these different places, but in a fictionalized manner that doesn't really expose the reality of everything, but takes you as close as you can get. One of the best compliments I've gotten about that book in particular was from Tito Santana, who read it. I sent him a copy of it, and he told me he thought it was real. He says, "When did you become a worker?" I said, "I didn't." Well, it sure sounds like you were, because you got I said, "Well, you hang around the circus long enough, and you start acting like a clown." So, yeah.
And Tito's an educator. He's a very smart guy, like Sheldon is. So, if Sheldon got to work Tito, it's a fantastic book.
And that gives me another transitional question for you, Sheldon. which is that because I'm a lawyer and Mike's a dentist, and you're also a guy that's really like in the top 10 percentile as far as like intellects go. I'm sure people have asked you this. For a smart guy, why wrestling? People say, they often ask me, they go, it's such a barbaric, de rigueur.
I'm sure Sheldon.
Well, let Sheldon answer for himself. Why wrestling? What is it about wrestling that someone of such great intellect gravitates towards it? Tell me, Sheldon.
Here's your answer. When I was growing up, or before wrestling, I was really, as a teenager, into broadcasting. I was involved in what was called an Explorer program, which is part of the Boy Scouts, like a vocational Boy Scouts. The chapters are sponsored by companies, and mine was sponsored by a radio and TV station. And so there was that, and then I had a very difficult time trying to get a job once I was out of high school. I had some really good experience and so forth, but I just didn't manage to make that connection, because in broadcasting, normally what happens is you start in a small market and you work your way up. I'm in Boston, so I'd already seen like top people in a big market. I didn't want to go start at the bottom and go back up. So there was that. I got involved in doing publicity for theater companies, both local companies and later Broadway shows on tour, and later became a producer. I got into that and I found a niche and was working and doing very well with it and so forth. And then the economics of producing theater started to change, and it became very difficult for me because I wanted to just put on the shows. I didn't want to be a professional fundraiser, which was what I was becoming. And I just hated it. I just hated asking people for money. I had maintained my wrestling fandom through all that time, and had been getting different newsletters over the years, Tom Burke's Global Wrestling News, and of course, the Wrestling Observer and the Torch and all that. And I because I was a collector of things and a serial hoarder, I said, well, why not do a newsletter based on collectibles? And it was different. I wasn't trying to tell tales out of school, and that caught on for a while. And
when did you start? Was it like 88, 89?
Yeah, about 89, yeah. And I did that for a few years, and then started getting involved with promotions and promoting. I worked with the late Boston bad boy Tony Rumble, helping him with NWA New England, and he passed away suddenly in 1999. And then I just picked up the mantle. I didn't want to what if myself. I didn't want to not do it and wonder what if I had. So I started promoting, and that started a 20-year run. And wrestling checked off all the boxes for me. I was promoting live events like I had been promoting theater. I was, producing TV like I had wanted to do, in my college years and so forth. And I ended up doing 3 years of radio, which that checked another box off for me. So all the things that I was interested in and wanted to do got the boxes checked in by putting on wrestling.
But you also introduced a number of big stars people know today, making names like Sumi Sakai, Mercedes Martinez, globally known through New England Championship Wrestling, and many, many others. Plus, Russ doesn't even know Sheldon when he was in the theatrical world, worked with big, major global stars, Lauren Bacall, Linda Blair. I mean, there was many that Sheldon, well beyond those two, but Lauren Bacall doesn't get much bigger than that. And, that's huge. So all of these elements Sheldon brought to New England Championship Wrestling, which is pretty amazing, and nobody could even touch it.
Theater had given me a very good background of experience that I could carry over into wrestling. You're promoting a live event. Also, when I started doing publicity, my specialty was working with people that nobody wanted to work with. All the people that were difficult and had a reputation for being terrible people, they would slough off on me because he's just a kid. He doesn't know any better. And I had some doozies, but after that, wrestling was a piece of cake.
Who would you say, like someone that you turned around, that came to you that was a challenge, but by the time you were done working with them, they were much easier to work with?
Two of them, Lauren Bacall and Yul Brynner.
Oh, Yul Brynner, wow.
Yeah, he believed he was the king of Siam in real life. There was no kayfabe for Yul Brynner. Yeah, he was an interesting fellow.
Did you just say that he'd be the sheriff from Westworld? You could just turn him off if you're gonna emulate a character. I could just be someone I could unplug.
He loved wrestling.
Really?
Yeah, he loved wrestling. He wanted to go. He never would go because I took him to Madison Square Garden. Yeah, because in theater traditionally Monday nights everybody's not working.
I gotta know, who is Yul Brynner's favorite wrestler?
I don't know if he had a particular favorite. He just loved, when he would see it on TV, he would get all animated. He was a circus acrobat. That was his origin. He was strong as a bull. He needed a bodyguard like I needed a hole in the head. I mean, he was a pretty interesting guy. And I took him to he says, I can't go. People will recognize me. I said, let's do this. Let me go to the Army Navy store. I'll get you a fatigue jacket. I'll get you a ball cap and some sunglasses. Nobody will know who you are, and we'll go out for steak, and we'll have a fun night, a fun boys' night out. And that was the night that Tiger Mask debuted in Madison Square Garden against Dynamite Kid.
Whoa! So what did he think of that?
Yeah.
He was out of his mind over that. He had such a great time.
Wow.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest matches.
We had such a fun night. That was
at MSG. That was at Madison Square Garden, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And give us a story about Lauren Bacall.
She gave Sheldon headaches, he told me.
Well, I learned something very early on, that if you act like you're in awe of these people, if you treat them like stars, you're dead in the water. They have to know that you're there to protect them, and that you're working, for their benefit, and you're working to help them. That you're not trying to be, a fanboy. That's the last thing you want to be. And I had the knack of getting along with most people. With her, she was a little standoffish at first. They fired the original guy that they had sent up to Boston. And I was working at the theater, at the Colonial Theater, and they said, well, who the hell are we going to get? And I raised my hand and said, I'll do it. And, she ended up being terrific. I had so much respect for her. She used to dress up like a bag lady so she could walk the streets and walk to the theater by herself instead of taking a cab or a limousine or whatever. And she turned out to be a very sweet, friendly woman. And, you just had to get past that veneer. And once you did, you were in like Lynn. And I became very fond of her.
You couldn't drag her to see wrestling, though.
No, I did not make that attempt in her case.
Did Yul Brynner, did he say, there's elements of acting in this? Did he?
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. He says, when I was younger, I could have done that. I said, no doubt.
So that would have been something. Yul Brynner, heavyweight champion of the world.
That's right.
That's, he thought being a king was
program.
Yes, if you thought being King of Siam was a big deal, wait until
Managed by the Grand Wizard.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what is it about the visceral form of entertainment that wrestling is that appeals to you so much and made you want to run a promotion?
Well, the last thing I thought I would do is run a promotion. When my friend Tony Rumble passed away suddenly, his widow had left the business in the hands of people that I didn't think were going to do very well with it. And so I was convinced by Scott Dickinson, who was a former referee for WCW and a local guy here, to give it a shot. And so I did. And I'm so grateful that I did. So.
Are you still in contact with Scotty? He was a great guy before WCW, working the Indies.
I haven't talked to him in several years.
Yeah, I miss Scotty.
He's out in California.
I'm sorry? He moved out here?
Oh,
yeah. He moved in there, kind of near where Jesse Hernandez still promotes EWF.
Yeah.
So, now that you have this series of books completed, do you have any books that you're planning to do in the future, or what's your next plan as far as that goes?
My next book is going to be a memoir.
Good.
So I thought it was time. Mike had alluded to me having health issues. I had a triple bypass back in December, and in the process of healing from that, I somehow scraped my heel on a recliner, the metal edge of a recliner. And got infected, and the infection went into the bone. So that led to a weakening of my Achilles tendon, which is partially torn. So I'm hobbling around in an orthopedic boot and a walker, and there's a surgery in my future once I get an MRI. They're just finishing up a round of antibiotics, and once
at least it's not your heart. At least it's not your heart.
Yeah.
It's still difficult to meet all the.
I have kidney disease as well. I go to dialysis 3 times a week. So I've had all these challenges in the past 3 years, and how I started writing the books is I was laying in a hospital bed at Mass General, and I said to myself, well, I don't know if I'm going to have the stamina anymore to promote live events, but maybe there's something else I can do. So I'll figure out whatever that is, and then I can do that. And so I sat down and I wrote my first book the last fall, and it was so warmly embraced by everyone. I just kept going. So I've had this really eventful journey through all different fields. So I thought it was time to sort of sum up my life and pass down some of my experiences and the lessons that I learned from them, and put them in the form of a book. So that's what's next.
That's going to be a big deal. Many more years of Sheldon contributing.
Yeah, but when you have that book ready to go, we want to promote it on the show here.
Of course we will.
Thank you.
Be our honor to be able to do that.
It's going to be called Never Count Me Out.
Good title.
Nice.
That's the title.
Nice.
So, yeah,
and then maybe
connotations too.
Maybe underneath it'll be "I'll submit when I'm ready." Oh,
something like that. Yeah, you just have to keep going forward, no matter what you do. No matter what happens around you. Life doesn't stop; it only moves in one direction. And that's me. Anytime I ran into an obstacle career-wise, or I had come up upon a roadblock that wouldn't let me go any further in one area, I just pivoted and did something else. I just found something else to do. I like to refer to myself as a master of reinvention. And so, now I've reinvented myself as an author. But I consider myself to be very fortunate. So I want to I'm writing a very positive book about getting past obstacles in one's life. So that's kind of the crux of it.
Turning obstacles into lemonade.
Something like that. Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
lemons into lemonade. Shelley, are you watching, or what promotions do you enjoy? Are you watching any, or New Japan, because you watched all of the, back in
I
the
don't watch a ton of wrestling anymore. I'll every once in a while I'll see a WWE, show if I'm curious, if there's something in particular that I want to see, or someone in particular I want to see. I'm getting a real kick out of Adam Pearce as general manager on Raw and now SmackDown, and he did a couple of shots for me as the NWH champion, and he was just terrific to work with. I can't say enough good things about that guy. He just was somebody that I wish I had a year with him. I think we could have done some really cool things. But unfortunately, I was fortunate to work with him, but not that fortunate. And I just have a ton of respect for that kid. He just was fantastic.
Who was that wrestler we had on the show, and he said it was it John Cena, who, when he came out, and Adam Pearce, kind of was starting with Bassman in Southern California, Orange County, but it was was it Cena who asked you if he could wrestle one of your regulars? What was that story? You and I talked about that, and Cena asked.
Yeah, he originally he wanted to wrestle one of our regulars, but Frankie Kazarian was out with him here at the same time. And I said, why don't you guys just work with each other? I said, that's easier. His family had never seen him wrestle. And so he wanted to do a show where all of his family could come and they could see him. And his father had sold like 80 tickets. It was crazy. So yeah, it was it was Cena family night at New England Championship Wrestling.
Cena Senior, one of the nicest guys, and he's promoted and done stuff. He's been a wrestling mark for decades and decades and decades.
He's a bigger mark than his son.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, he's a bigger mark than his son.
Yes. But a really nice guy.
Yeah. I think he lives vicariously through his son.
So, do you think that you might ever do any promoting in the future, or maybe assist another promotion, to do a show or something like that? Or
I like giving advice to young promoters. I feel that's part of my duty to pass on what I know to another generation.
You've influenced Court Bauer. I don't know if you talked to Court Bauer recently, but Court Bauer is we always talk about you.
Really?
Yeah, and how
I liked Court. Somebody that I wish I had a chance to work with.
MLW is, every time they come out to LA or any of the shows I've shot, I mean, they are packed. It is SRO.
Yeah.
Amazing shows, and he utilizes the best international talent, which you did. That's kind of, I think, where the influence came in. Anybody that's, you can utilize, that's not signed to either.
My influence was Dennis Coralluso.
Yeah, love Dennis. Miss him. What a character. What a character. And Gino Moore and some of the other characters.
Yeah, right.
That 80s, 90s. We don't have guys like that, really. Or Tony Rumble was a total character. And would bust my chops.
Absolutely.
Bust my balls, but really sweet guy, nice guy, when you got to know him.
So you say you like to help out, promotions that need help. What do you think would be your top 3 pieces of advice that you give to every promotion that needs help?
More on the promotion side, like database marketing. Capture all the names and addresses of the people who are coming to your shows, and either send them postcards or send them emails. I like to send postcards. That's a really old school promotion deal. In the 70s, Abe Ford used to send out the program, which was a 1-page folded over printed affair. You can write to his office, get on the mailing list, and you got a program every month. And later those became postcards because it was cheaper to print and cheaper to mail. But So I got that. I used that, and nobody else did, and it worked very, very well. I always want to tell people that the most important thing you can do as a promoter is develop a relationship with your fans. You know, let them know that you appreciate them, and that you want them to have a good time, and you're glad that they came, and you appreciate their patronage, and that will pay off.
Isn't that funny? Because TKO is now saying the exact opposite. They're saying,
well,
we don't care if your fans are not, just give us your money.
Not like Paul Bosch or Sam Munchak. Shell, I'm going to ask you to plug anything and everything, including the book. Evan Ginsberg is at a John Cougar Mellencamp concert tonight. He wanted everybody to know. But Shell,
let's talk to John Cougar Mellencamp.
That's because, I mean, Sheldon's a big artist.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my camera back on.
But let's have you, before we close up shop, plug anything and everything, and of course where people can get just the latest.
Once the Sun is right here. It's part of a 5-book series. You can get them all on Amazon. Just look me up by name, and you'll find all the books. And that's really what's going on.
Well, you have Facebook. I don't know if you're on the other socials, but Facebook is your major.
I am on Facebook. I'm on X, is at NECW. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on all these things. No TikTok, but I'm on everything else.
And MC, that's New England Championship Wrestling. That was your promotion.
NECW, yeah.
And what do we have to look forward to next? What is the next? Your book? Is your book going to be the next thing?
Well, his autobiography is
my memoir, Never Count Me Out. Somewhere down the road, once I'm physically better, we're going to be producing a Best of New England Championship Wrestling TV series that we hope to place on like Tubi or Pluto or Roku channel or one of those. A guy reached out to me about a year or so ago who is a distributor, and we have this plan to produce this new series with some of the best matches from the archives, and I think we're going to do initially a 10-episode series and see how that goes.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see.
Yeah.
You can do it before they were famous, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff before they were famous, and maybe some guys who should have been famous and weren't. Yeah, some real. We're part of that series is going to be, what's her name? Mercedes Monet. Her very first professional match was in New England Championship Wrestling. That'll be part of that. The Cena Kazarian match, Doug Williams.
What a talent!
Was speaking America with us. Sumi Sakai, of course.
Sumi was great. I worked a couple shows with Sumi, and I've always said, if Hello Kitty was a human being, she would be Sumi Sakai.
That's great. Yeah.
The Queen of Joshi.
Yes.
And a very sweet person.
Very sweet person. Yes. I love her dearly.
That's great. I would love to see those shows. So when you have those ready, let us know. We can promote that as well. Sure. I just want to. I don't want NECW to just fade away. I mean, I do have a YouTube channel which has all that stuff on it. I just want to do the TV thing because it would open it up to a whole new audience. But yeah, I just want to. I'm not so anxious to get involved in promoting any new live events.
Well, you already have the content. You already have the content. Now it's just get it to people.
And focus on your health and getting better first.
Yeah, I mean, I knew like several years before all this that my body was starting to grind down. I had worked so hard. I had a regular job and was promoting wrestling and doing TV and stuff like that. I mean, it was a grueling pace. I didn't mind any of it. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing, but you know, it certainly took a toll on me. And you know, like I say, I consider myself lucky more than anything else. So
Wrestling's Renaissance man show.
Well, we're lucky to have you on the show as a multiple-time guest.
I'm lucky to be here. You guys are great. Mike, of course, is a
we pulled for you when you were going through your bypass, and I'm glad to see that you're quote unquote okay, but you got to get your ankle in shape so that you can maybe do one last high spot.
Evan will be here next time. You can kick Evan with.
Maybe I'll do a low spot.
There you go. That's perfect. Sheldon, it is really our privilege to have you on the show and to share even a fraction of your knowledge with us. And we want to have you on again and again and again. I actually said to Mike, he said, Sheldon wants to be on the show. I said, you know what? Sheldon can be on the show anytime he wants. If you want to be co-host of the show, all you have to do is say you want to be co-host of the show, because I would move aside. What you can add and everything that you can give to us as far as your knowledge goes, it's priceless to me. I really appreciate it.
Russ, I enjoy you in that chair, so I would not want to supplant someone that I like and I appreciate.
Aw, that means so much to me. Well,
I just want to thank you guys. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Well, you're always welcome on the show anytime, and we want to help promote any cause that you're with. It's our privilege and our pride to do so. All right, everyone, that's it for this week, and we'll see everyone next week. Good night, everybody.
どうもありがとうございました。